Right, so welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us today. It's great to see so many of you here this afternoon. This webinar is to give you a bit more information about our Diploma of Family History and give you the opportunity to ask our course coordinator and senior lecturer any questions you might have about the Diploma of Family History. So my name is Eva. I am from the Future Students team here at the University of Tasmania, and I'm joined today by Dr. Kate Bagnall, who is the Senior Lecturer of Humanities and also the course coordinator of the Diploma of Family History, and also Dr. Imogen Wegman, who is an Associate Lecturer in Humanities and teaches on this program. So thanks for joining us, Kate and Imogen. I'm going to, if you could go to the next slide, please, Kate. And the slide after. And I'm going to hand over to Imogen to do our acknowledgement to country, please.
We acknowledge the Palawa Pakana peoples of Lutruwita, upon whose lands the University of Tasmania stands.
All right, so it's over to me now, Eva.
Yes, please, that would be great.
Okay. Well, hello, and it's really great to have so many of you joining us here this afternoon to hear a bit about the Diploma of Family History that we offer through UTAS. I'm going to do a little bit of a brief introduction about the diploma and the things that we do in the course, and then I'm going to hand over to Imogen, who's going to talk to you a little bit about our experience of studying online. So the Diploma of Family History has been running here at UTAS for about 5 or 6 years, and it's a really exciting program that we offer, and we love the fact that we reach students across Australia. So we're here based in Hobart, but lots of our students are on the mainland, far away in places like Broome and North Queensland, as well as Sydney and Melbourne. So the diploma itself takes 1 to 2 years of study, full-time or part-time, but a lot of our students have busy lives, and so it is possible to extend the study over more years than that. As I said, the course is entirely taught online. We're here in Hobart, but you can be wherever you are, and lots of people study at home or use the facilities in their local libraries if they don't have the equipment that they need at home. The diploma has entry points all through the year, so we're about to have a new entry point with the Introduction to Family History starting in a couple of weeks, but in fact you can start your study at any point you want, and in fact with any unit that you want. And once you've studied through and finished the diploma, there are pathways that you can then go on to further study with us at UTAS, for example through the Diploma of Arts or the Bachelor of Arts. So I suspect that most of you that we're talking to today are already keen family historians or interested in family history. But family history is something that I'm really passionate about as a historian. I really love finding out about people in the past. And so studying family history gives us a way of exploring more about our own family's background and of connecting to people and cultures in the past. With our study here at UTAS, you also get to be part of a community of like-minded researchers, people who are just as fascinated in family history and genealogy as you are. And I think one of the other great things about studying family history is that there's lots of really creative and interesting ways that you can create and share your family stories through art, through writing, through stories, and also through thinking about the objects that we have in our families and how we can pass them on to future generations. So we offer a fairly specialised and unique program through UTAS. We provide skills and knowledge to research, write and share your family history, and it's taught by experts here at UTAS. So we're the only fully online Diploma of Family History that's offered in Australia, and it's a really special opportunity, I think, for people to engage with family history and within a community of family historians all around the country. here at UTAS, you get to learn with us. We share your learning journey with you, and we're historians like myself and Imogen, but also there are writers and creative arts practitioners who teach into the program as well. One of the things that we offer through the diploma is access to ancestry.com through their library edition, which you have access to through the UTAS library. And you also have access to other databases and resources such as the British Newspaper Archive. So that's another database that has a paywall, so you have to be a subscriber to access it. But as a student with us, you can get free access through our library. Another of the really great things about studying the diploma with us is that you help, it helps build your confidence in using computers and the internet. Lots of our students are older learners, perhaps who aren't so familiar with using technologies, but even though the diploma is taught online, we offer some great support in using both the technology and the systems, the computer systems that we use as well. We also have a dedicated contact team who are a support team that help you with any questions you have along the way. And of course, there's your teaching teams as well. So for the diploma, you need to finish 8 units. And those units can be taken kind of over the course of 1 year or over 2 or more years. You need to do generally 4 units at foundation level and 4 at introductory level. And you can choose to study these units in any order that you like, but we really encourage you to start with the Introduction to Family History, which is starting in a couple of weeks on the 29th of June. So the foundation level units that we're offering, Introduction to Family History, Place, Image, Object, Writing Family History, and Convict Ancestors. So we have some real experts in convict history here at UTAS, and they lead that particular unit. And then at the 100 level, we have a unit on families in wartime, oral history, writing the family saga. And then we're introducing a new unit next year in 2021, which is called Migrant Families, which looks at all those families who've come to Australia as migrants over the last 200 years. As I mentioned, our teaching team is an interdisciplinary team. So there are historians like myself and Imogen, but also experts in English, particularly in writing. We have 2 particular units that focus on writing family history, family stories. And we also have colleagues from media and creative arts who teach into the oral history and place, image, object and photo SO units. Now, I think I'm going to hand back to Eva, who's going to talk a bit about the fees and scholarships.
Thank you, Kate. Yeah, so before I talked a bit more about the fees and scholarships, I just wanted to say that we will be having a Q&A at the end, but if you wanted to start adding in your questions now, and there's a Q&A button at the bottom of the screen, if you can start adding in your questions during the presentation and we can answer them all at the end. You should also be able to like any other questions that you see that you'd also like the answer to, so that we can try and answer the most popular questions first if we're not able to answer them all. So you should be able to see that Q&A at the bottom of your screen. Fees and scholarships. We get lots of questions about this. So the exciting thing about the Diploma of Family History is that domestic students, so that would be Australian citizens and permanent residents and students holding permanent humanitarian visas, can receive a full HEC scholarship for the foundation level units in 2020. So those are the 4 units that Kate mentioned earlier. And a full HEC scholarship means that there is no tuition fee for this, for those units. So they'll be free of charge. So for all the 400 level units, so those are the introductory ones, the cost is $835 per unit for a Commonwealth supported place. So again, that is for Australian citizens and permanent residents. and all Australian citizens can defer their tuition fee payment under the HECS Help Loan Scheme. So this is not available to permanent residents, but it is available to Australian citizens. And what this loan means is that you don't have to pay that fee for those 100 level units up front. You just would pay those if you earn, pay that back slowly if you earn over the income threshold, which is currently $51,957 per year. So if your income is above that, then that would be the point that you would start paying back your HECS Help loan. But yes, so that payment would not have to be paid up front. Students are not obliged to finish the diploma. Obviously, we want you to complete all 8 units, but if you start the 4 and you decide that you're unable to continue with your units, then you won't be expected to repay those 4 free units later. But yeah, obviously you would not then receive the diploma award. You would just get a transcript if you decided to do that. So just to bear in mind that this scholarship is available for all foundation units taken in 2020. So we have 3 foundation units left for this year. There's one starting in the winter school. There's one in spring semester and one, I believe, in October. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kate. Yep. So that would be at least 3 units that would be free of charge. We haven't confirmed yet whether that's going to continue into 2021. It is quite likely that that's going to happen for that remaining foundation unit next year. So that is pretty much all the fees. And the only other thing is this is automatically applied if you're a domestic student. So you don't need to apply for it. You don't need to tick anything on the application form that you'd like this HECS scholarship. It is automatically considered if you are a domestic student. So it's not a separate application process, and that information should be found on your offer letter should you be given an offer. So if we could have the next slide, please, Kate. I'm handing over to Imogen now.
No, to me.
Oh, back to you.
Back to me. Yeah, so once you finish the diploma, which is 8 units, as you said, a lot of our students are really keen to study a bit more. You know, I think a lot of our students are retired or are really keen on lifelong learning. So we encourage our students, once they finish the diploma, to consider going on and doing some further study with us. And there's a couple of options that immediately come to mind, and those are a Diploma of Arts, which is a bit like the more commonly known Bachelor of Arts. But in a Diploma of Arts, you can just take one major. So if you're really loving the sort of the writing and the English units that we do in the diploma, you could do a Diploma of Arts in English. Or likewise, if you're really keen on the history, you could do a history diploma. And then, of course, there's the more comprehensive Bachelor of Arts, which you can move into, which has majors such as history and English, classics, and languages as well. All right, now I'm going to hand over to Imogen, who's going to talk a little bit more about the process of studying online.
Can you stop sharing your screen and I will share mine. So I've just seen quite a few questions of people asking about how it actually operates in practice, learning online. So what I am sharing at the moment is the front page of our common room. So this is a new thing that we're building, about to release for all of our students. So it might still be just a little rough around the edges. I'm still smoothing out the details, but it should give you a good idea of how it works. So essentially, learning online, you will need a computer and an internet connection. We do find that computers work a bit better than tablets for this, but as Kate mentioned, a lot of people end up in their local libraries. So hopefully local libraries near you will be reopening and have computers that you can access to do this. So it is very much at your own pace. So there we have, each unit will have 6 weeks of content, and in each week there will be some reading, perhaps some video lectures, some little quizzes or activities, but you can do that at any time during the week that you like. We know that a lot of our students are working as shift workers, full-time carers, have complicated lives that mean that this gets fitted in around a lot of other things. And so we try to keep it as flexible as possible, so there aren't any obligations beyond assessment due dates. There aren't any other time obligations that you have to be anywhere. So here we have the front page of the common room, and for most of our units they'll look very similar to this. We use a lot of content that is all sorted into little sections. And so you would come into your unit and it would look a little bit like this. And then down on the side here, you will have week 1, week 2, week 3, and each of those weeks will have that content for the week in there. And we've just very excited to be using a brand new template. So they all look a little bit different now, but so if anybody has looked over someone's shoulder while they were doing the family history, they might not quite recognize our new website. But you can see it's all very simply laid out. This could be a week's worth of content. You might have a video to watch. Videos always come with a transcript, and you should be able to download the videos as well. So if you've got patchy internet and need to read it, or it isn't buffering, then we can work with those kind of things as well. The other thing that we make a lot of use of in the diploma are discussions. So one of the fantastic things about the diploma is that we've got this community of students who all look after each other. So for those of you who are on Facebook, follow us on Facebook, you might see somebody asking a question about enrolment or about courses, and lots of other students pop up and say, oh, I did that unit and I found it really helpful. Yes, they will talk about that, or, you know, those kind of things. That is typical of our student cohort. So we have these discussion boards. In every unit, there will be a discussion board called Ask the Teaching Team. And this is where you go when you want to talk to us about things. So if you've got questions about the assignments, about referencing, if you're just not sure what a task is, if you want more information about some of the content from that week, all of those are questions that you can put into the Ask the Teaching Team board for each unit. And we monitor those on work days, so they're monitored during business hours, and we always try to get back within 48 hours max, but we do try to get back to everyone nice and quickly. We know how frustrating it can be to ask a question and then to have to wait for 12 hours for the answer to come, and then for you to ask for clarification and then have to wait another 12 hours for that answer. So we do try to be quick and comprehensive. And there are also students who pop up and help with some of those things. So we have students who have been studying their family history for years. And so we have things like Over the Back Fence, this topic here in the common room, which is where students can post their brick walls, as we call that ancestral point when you can't get any further. So often people will say, I'm struggling with my ancestor who was an Irish convict, and then other people might have had similar problems and they'll give you some help. So there's not only our expertise in this, but there's also so many students who have been doing a lot of work for many years and also have a lot of tricks and tips. And the same goes for if you're having trouble with the actual, the teaching methods. If you're struggling with the computer, if it's having issues and things, then we will of course hop on and help and try to find solutions and try to explain and build your confidence in using these tools. But also a lot of the students are also really helpful in that. So we love it when we come in the first thing in the morning, someone's asked a tricky question, and we love it when we see a student who's given the correct and very helpful answer to that question. It's really valuable and a really valuable part of doing the diploma online. So I think that those are the key bits of teaching online. And so I'm going to pass back to Kate. And you can ask any more questions about that process down in the Q&A, and we'll come on to those in just a moment.
All right. Just a couple of things to follow up on what Imogen was saying. So there's about 6 to 8 hours of teaching each week. I guess, you know, that a lot of because the exercises are self-paced, you can do an hour or two a day, or sit down and spend your whole day working through the activities in the module for the week. Of course, we would love you to be spending more time than that, you know, following up your own research, doing some broader reading, but sort of the minimum expectation we have per week is about 6 to 8 hours. And that does differ a little bit across the different units. Each of them has slightly different structure and assessment criteria, but that's the sort of time per week that you should be expecting to spend per unit. And I think that maybe was that all we had to cover before the Q&As, Eva?
Yeah, that was great. Thank you very much, Kate and Imogen. That was, I think, hopefully that will have given everyone today a bit more of an insight as to what it's going to be like to study the Diploma of Family History. So that was super informative, and it was great to also see Milo as well. So thanks for that. So I'm going to start running through some of these questions. So I've got a few people who just said hi. So it's great to see people from all over Australia today. We've got Queensland, hi Sandy, we've got WA, Joanne, and we've got Anita from Adelaide, so that's great. Thanks for saying hi, and yeah, it's great to see you here. Okay, so the first question we have is, does this include ancestry.com.au? So you mentioned earlier about access to some accounts. When you said ancestry.com, is it, I assume that's what Sharon means by, is there a separate account for ancestry.com? And
so what we offer through the library is the Ancestry Library edition. So it's slightly different from your ancestry.com.au that you would subscribe to as an individual. And the biggest difference is that you can't create family trees on the Ancestry website that we provide you access to. It's really there for research purposes to find lots of the digitized historical records that Ancestry provides. So you're not able to build family trees or do your DNA through the access that we provide you to ancestry.com, but it's there for researching the historical records. Yeah.
Great, thanks, Kate. Okay, so does this diploma provide a pathway to career options, and what careers does this lead to?
That's a really interesting question. I guess a lot of the people who are doing the diploma with us are retired and they're doing it out of interest. But we certainly have some people who, for example, volunteer with their local family history society or local history society, the local library, those sorts of things. And they find that the skills and the knowledge that they learn during the diploma really helps them do that sort of work better. Some of our students I know have set up their own little family history research businesses, genealogy services. So those are all the sorts of options that you could go on to do with diploma. A lot of people already have qualifications they have a Bachelor of Arts or similar, and this is just providing a more specialist qualification.
Yeah. Great, thanks, Kate. And of course, you can go on to do the Bachelor of Arts as well. And you know, having a degree can often open doors in that way as well. In the different area specializations that Kate mentioned. All right. Are there any plans to offer the Foundation Unit Convict Ancestors this year?
We've
Ancestors. So yeah, go on.
We've already offered the convict units have already been offered this year. So Convict Ancestors was taught towards the beginning of the year, and the other convict unit, which we're not offering next year, Convicts in Context, is just finishing up at the moment. So there won't be any more convict units offered this year, but Convict Ancestors will be offered again at the beginning of next year.
Great, thanks, Kate. And we'll let you know as soon as it's been confirmed regarding fees for 2021. And yeah, whether or not that those foundation units will continue to be free into next year. Okay, what happens if you already have an account with Ancestry? Is it possible to set up a new account? So it sounds like it is a different type of account that you get. Is that right,
Yes,
Kate?
yeah. Through the library, it's really just like accessing library resources. So it's not particularly tailored to you specifically. Like I said, you can't create family trees and things. But it does provide access to the digitized sources and indexes that Ancestry has.
Great, thanks. So how can this lead into further study? So I think Kate went through that after you answered that question, Suzanne, about further study, about going on to the Bachelor of Arts. So that is fine, and you'll be able to get credit for that. Would you get full credit for the Bachelor of Arts? Kate?
I don't know the answer to that question, Eva.
Okay.
One for the academic admin people.
Yeah, so basically when you apply for the Bachelor of Arts, you would select that you'd like to be considered for credit transfer, and yeah, we would give you as much credit as possible. It could be that some of these will go towards your core units, depending on what it is, or it might be towards the electives. So is it using webinars or is it fully online? So I think that Imogen already covered how this online structure is.
Can I just add to that? Within Milo, we do have a webinar format, and Kate and I have been talking a lot about how we can use that better. And at the moment, my main thought is in these strange times of actually using it as a space that students can set up informal catch-ups. So often our students meet up in a cafe. If we've got lots of students in Adelaide, they'll organise a Saturday morning coffee just to meet their fellow students. And so we are looking at ways of using some of our online capabilities to let students keep on doing that, but digitally rather than physically. Yeah, and so we want to try to continue that sense when people perhaps aren't able to go to cafes and things. But yeah, no time specific things that lead to assessment.
Great, thank you. So where do I access the full course breakdown, e.g. times sessions are held and what topics are covered each week. So yeah, as Imogen said, the times, there are no set times that these sessions are held because you can access it in your own time. But in terms of the topics that are covered each week, is that once you enroll, Imogen?
Yep, so you will get a unit outline that gives you a little schedule for that unit that tells you what the theme of each week is. So it doesn't go into the absolute deep specifics, but it gives you the overview of what will be covered each week.
Thank you for that. What happens with HECS if you're already a pensioner and therefore unlikely to get a job? So basically, I'll answer that one. So basically, to pay back the HECS help, you need to have an income of $51,957 a year. So if you don't have that income, that annual income, then you won't be paying back the HECS help loan, and it is yeah, it doesn't get passed on to relatives later on. So so yeah, it would be just dependent on your income. So the Island Research Project, I might answer that one directly, Anne. So I'll keep that one there. So Rosemary says there are 5 foundation subjects on the website, and Kate, you only mentioned 4. So the photo essay wasn't part of the presentation there.
It was, and you've caught me out, Rosemary, because I realised as soon as I saw the slide on the screen that I'd forgotten to put the photo essay in there. But we are making some changes to the structure and the units on offer for the diploma for next year. That's still in the process of being worked out. But the photo essay is indeed going to be offered next year. So we can't really, at the moment, go into too much detail about what's changing. There's really not that much is changing, but it will still be 8 units in total. And next year, the photo essay will be among the foundation level units that are being offered. Yep.
Thanks, Kate. So Cheryl has asked, would we need to purchase books?
No.
Yep. all the materials that you need to learn it through each of the units is provided through the Milo site, like Imogen was showing, or through resources that are digitized and online already. Yep.
Thanks, Kate. Is it necessary to apply for CSP for every unit? No, you just need to complete your ECAF form, which is the request for Commonwealth assistance at the beginning. And as long as you remain enrolled throughout the whole diploma, i.e. you don't sort of take time out of your diploma, then you won't need to do it again. If you did decide to take a break from your studies, you would have to fill out that form again. So that is the answer to that one. All right, so okay, so that was another question about the HECS fee, but also I do not have any other uni degree. I just have a TAFE advanced certificate. Kate, are you able to give information about entry requirements?
Absolutely. So we really are excited about the fact that the diploma is open to anybody. You don't need to have completed Year 12, you don't need to have been studying at TAFE or at uni to enrol in the diploma. We have lots of students who maybe finished Year 10 and that might have been 40 years ago. So it's we really encourage anybody who's interested in family history to give it a go. And we have a wide range, therefore, of backgrounds of our students. And we try and make things as easy, you know, I guess smooth your way back into formal learning. Even people who've, you know, might have done a university degree in their younger years, you know, it's still been 20 or 30 years since they've been enrolled in formal learning. So we understand that our students have lots of different experience and life experience as well that they bring to the units. So yeah, we encourage anyone to apply. Yeah.
Thanks, Kate. So we've got another question about Ancestry. Do you need to go to the library to access Ancestry, or you can just access that at home as long as you've got internet?
Yep.
Yep.
Once they're enrolled with their student number, they can get access to the library resources, the UTAS library resources online.
Perfect. I've got a few questions through the chat as well. So someone asked, what is a domestic student? So a domestic student is an Australian citizen, an Australian permanent resident, a New Zealand citizen living in Australia, or an Australian permanent humanitarian visa holder. That is what is defined as a domestic student, and who would be eligible for Commonwealth support or these HECS scholarships. So there was another question about online. Can I just enroll in the 3 introductory units for this year? So 3 introductory rather than foundation. Are there prerequisites for the introductory units? Can you start with those and not do the foundation unit?
Yes, you can start it. You can start at any point that you want. Yeah, but if you're new to family history or new to studying online, we really encourage you to do Introduction to Family History first, because it covers some of the fundamentals, both to the way that we teach and also to family history as well.
Yep, and that one starts on the 29th of June.
Yep.
Perfect. So you can study 1 elective as a foundation level unit. Does that mean you can study 1 elective as a foundation level and 1 elective as an elective unit? I'm not quite sure what you mean there. I'm not sure if you...
We might need to get back to Violet about that one, I think.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so we've already answered the question about online learning, so that's fine. I did 3 units earlier, but then withdrew. How do I get recredited for those? So, so if you have started the diploma before and you were not able to continue with your studies, it is likely that the system will have withdrawn you by now, and you'll just need to reapply for the diploma, and you'll get readmitted, and all of those courses, the units that you've done, provided they've been taken in the, well, provided they're the same units as the ones that we're currently offering, you should receive credit for all of those automatically. So that's fine. I've completed photo essay, so we already mentioned that.
And I just, in response to that question, if you've already completed the photo essay, it is still being offered. I forgot to put it on the slide.
Yeah. Yeah, so that will still count towards the diploma.
Absolutely, yep.
So we've got another question about HECS. I think I've answered that. Student amenities fee. So the foundation units that are covered under the HECS scholarship also have a waiver for the student amenities fee. So it literally is free for those foundation units that you take in 2020. So there's no amenities fee. The amenities fee will need to be paid for the introductory 100 level courses. So can you transfer from the Diploma of Family History to the Diploma of History? I don't know whether you're able to answer that.
We need to check that, but I think you would need to finish the Diploma of Family History and then apply to enroll in a Diploma of History.
Diploma of Arts, I think it would be with the...
Yeah,
you just may not get full credit for it, depending on the diploma. Are we able to access the computers on campus? So the campus is starting to reopen now. There are still sort of social distancing rules in place, but I believe that the library is opening up with computer spaces, Kate.
Yes, it's starting to. I think they're limiting the numbers of students physically on campus still, and we are still working from home. As you can probably tell, Imogen and I are not in our offices at the university, but hopefully over the next few months we'll get greater access back on campus. Yeah.
And if you are an enrolled student, then you do have access to on-campus resources, even if you're a distance student, I believe. Is that, I think that's probably part of that question.
So what do you mean by the on-campus resources?
As in computers that are on campus. Distance students are able to use.
Oh, right, sure. Yeah, you would have the same same access.
So if you live in Sandy Bay, then you can use, you know, the university resources that are close to you, for example.
And the other exciting thing, I'm pretty sure I know that in the Sydney campus, there's a university Wi-Fi network called UniWide, which you should be able to access with your UTAS username and password from any campus, any university in Australia that uses UniWide. So even if it's a different university, if you are based somewhere else, you can still use your UTAS username and password to access the Wi-Fi on other campuses. I don't know whether they would let you use their library, but if you aren't based in Tasmania, you might still be able to go and sit in their cafe and use their Wi-Fi. So will there be a prompt to commence on the start date?
You will get information sent to you about how to access the online learning system Milo, and usually our units open at about 9 o'clock on the morning of the date that the unit's set to open. So you should receive information specifically about that.
Okay, so and then the cutoff date for applying to the diploma generally would be applying before the start of the semester. So the Introduction to Family History unit starts on the 29th of June. So we would encourage you to apply as soon as possible if you haven't done that already, because it does take admissions a little bit of time to go through all the applications due to the number that they have been receiving at the moment. So yeah, I would encourage you to apply as soon as possible. But yeah, the cutoff date would be the 29th of June. But obviously it would mean that you would be a little bit behind on you know, you would need to catch up on what you might miss over the first few days. So we are kind of starting to run out of time, so we're not going to be able to go through all of these questions. What we'll do is we will save them and we can get back to you individually. For those of you who've asked questions with your names, we've still got quite a lot. I don't know, Kate, if you can see any in particular that you think would be useful to answer now.
Just there was one question about the assessments. How far in advance did people find out about assessments? So when you are starting a unit, as Imogen mentioned, you get a unit outline at the beginning of the unit, and that outlines all the assessments that you'll need to undertake for the unit. Usually there's at least one kind of in the first half of the unit, so in the first 3 weeks. And a lot of those are online quizzes. They're quite quick to complete, but you do have the time, and your unit coordinators work with you to help you be organised to meet those deadlines over the 6 to 8 weeks that the unit's running.
And somebody else just asked about what kind of assignments. So every unit has slightly different things. So there might be a mix of quizzes, essays. In the writing units, there are creative writing tasks. And so there's all sorts of different things. For oral history, you need to conduct an interview. So there's lots of different ways that the units are assessed. And we are always happy to work with you if the contact team is amazing. And so if you need extensions for those due dates, then we are always happy to work with you. If you need a couple of extra days and things, as I said, we know that everyone's lives can be a little bit chaotic. So we do want to make sure that you are able to get through the units happily and without too much stress.
And are these units graded or pass or fail? I've got a question here.
So the assessment tasks that you do during the units, they are graded and you get feedback on those tasks. So for a couple of the units, you write a final essay, so your coordinator or tutor will give you feedback as well as a grade. But overall, the units are what's called, you're either given an ungraded pass or a fail. So you do get feedback and a mark on the actual tasks that you do, but overall it's an ungraded pass or a fail is on your transcript. Yep.
All right, thanks, Kate. So thank you all for coming along today. I really appreciate all your questions, but we are going to have to wrap up now. I've taken a note of all the questions that we haven't answered, and we will get back to you individually after the session if it's not one of the questions that we answered today. Thanks again to Kate and Imogen for all your great insight into this diploma. It sounds like a really exciting course, and I think and it's really great to see all your questions and how interested you all seem to be in doing this diploma. So we hope to see you on the 29th of June for our introduction to family history unit. And yeah, we'll be in contact with those, as I say, who've asked questions that we haven't been able to answer. So apologies for that. We didn't quite expect to receive this many questions. So so thank you everyone for your interest, and we really appreciate it. All right, so I'm going to sign out now, but yeah, have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.